Hello. Today we'll be taking a look at Microsoft Operation Management Suite and taking a look within there of the Office 365 Analytics solution that is available there. So let's go ahead and get started. So here we're sitting within my Lewis Tech Views workspace within Microsoft Operation Management Suite. So as you can see here, each one of these little squares or rectangles you have here are solutions that I have enabled within my workspace. So what we want to do, we want to go to the solution gallery, which is this little shopping bag icon here on the left. And then within here, we want to go and find the Office 365 solution that's available. So your view that you see when you log into your workspace, once you have one, may look a little bit different than mine. You may see different solutions on offer than I have here. You may see some that aren't here, or you may see some of the ones that you see in my workspace may not be available for you. But the one we're interested in here is this Office 365 Analytics that's currently in preview. So we go ahead and click on that. And then what that'll do, give you kind of an overview of what the solution is, kind of give you a screenshot of what it'll look like once it starts grabbing data and logs and things from your service or from your Office 365 services. And then over here on the left hand side, it gives you a description of some of the features and things that it can hook into. So things like SharePoint, Exchange, Azure Active Directory, and things like that. And then also it lists a few requirements. So one of the requirements is that you have to connect this using a global admin account within your Office 365 subscription. So that is one of the requirements there. And to add this to your workspace, all you have to do here is just go ahead and click Add, and that'll go ahead and turn on that solution for your workspace. So it just only take a few moments here for that to add, and then you'll get redirected back to the main home page. So it won't immediately show up here, but normally within a few minutes or sometimes a few seconds or so, you'll get another rectangle that'll show here that's for the Office 365 solution. So once that shows up within your workspace, you actually have to go and configure it and tell it how to connect up to your Office 365 subscription. So you can do that a couple different ways. The easiest way is normally just click on the gear box here in the upper right hand corner. So go ahead and click on the gear, and then if you go to connected sources, you'll now have an Office 365 option there. So go ahead and click on Office 365. And then with there, you'll click on Connect Office 365. So we'll go ahead and do that. And then you get a pop-up here where you'll have to log into your Office 365 account using a global admin account. So I'm going to go ahead and connect to mine. Okay, and with this, what you'll do, again, it has to be an account that is a global admin within your subscription, and you'll put in either if you're using your own custom domain, you'll actually put that in as opposed to the domain assigned to you when you create a new account. For purposes of this demonstration, I'm not going to use my personal domain. I'll just go ahead and use the account assigned to me, the domain assigned to me. So go ahead and say next. Then you'll get prompted for your password. Go ahead and provide your password and click sign in. And I don't want to save that password. And it just gives you some prompts and saying, okay, these are the type of things that it's going to enable on your account. And grant permissions for this service to access various different pieces from Office 365. So I'm going to go ahead and accept that. And it may take a few moments for it to respond. Let's see, I'm still waiting for a response. It's trying to go ahead and connect up to the subscription. And there we go. So it's go ahead and connect it up. It's showing me the workflows. As I mentioned, Azure Active Directory, Exchange, as well as SharePoint are the supported features right now. So that may change in the future. Because I mentioned this feature is currently in preview. So I expect hopefully over time we may get access to more data from other services. So now once you have this connected up, it's pretty much you just have to wait for the data to start actually flowing back into OMS from your Office 365 subscription. So let's go ahead and check out our home page again and see if we have a new icon yet. And yes, if we do over here on the left hand side, now we have this Office 365 preview that is performing assessment. As it sees here, it says at most it should take up to 24 hours to start getting data into the system. But once that data start flowing, you'll see live streams of, well, not live, but you'll see a aggregated summarized view of things that's going on across those services. And this button will also be clickable, where you can drill down deeper into it and get additional details on what type of user activities are going on, as I mentioned, Exchange, SharePoint, as well as the Azure Active Directory from the logs and things that it's gathering. So we'll give that a little bit of time for that to start populating, and then we'll take a look at that data there. So now, as you can see, the Office 365 solution has now actually started populating data. This is probably maybe less than 30 minutes later now, where my subscription is actually starting to pull in data from the service. So as you can see here, we see there's been some things that it noticed happen in Azure Active Directory that it was able to pull from the service. So let's go ahead and click into that. And then here in the view here, we can see there's been some activities. We see various different graphs that get built out as those different activities occur. So we see some set company information. We see there's been 3 activities related to that. And then I also added an unverified domain to my environment, which I actually just did that just a moment ago, just to test some things out. So each one of these are clickable. So over here on the left hand side on the operations, we can see over here, we can see the user that actually did that operation. So in my case, I did it with my global admin monitor account that I have defined. But if there's other accounts that were doing various different activities, those will also be here and also clickable. And this entire solution is backed by the log analytics piece of Operation Management Suite. So all of this data that as it pulls it in and those activities, it becomes searchable. And also it become where you can create alerts. So if there are certain activities you want to look out for, as you start seeing those activities come up in here, you can actually create a query to make that, whenever we see that particular activity, to making it into an alert, and then you'll receive an email notifying you that that activity has occurred with the details of that. Or you can go a step further and add some automation on top of that. So say maybe if some particular action happened, maybe you want to kick off a runbook or a workflow of some type, or a webhook, or create a ticket in your on-premise ticketing systems such as ServiceNow or Microsoft Service Manager. All those are capabilities that you can do, where you can kind of tie those things together and see what's going on there. But let's go ahead and click into this and see what we have here. So clicking there, we can see it shows us the account where that activity occurred. We see it's sorted by the time. We can see the time when it happened, what the activity was, and we click show more. There's a lot of extra details here as far as what occurred there. So as far as what Office ID, organization ID, the user ID, what the actual activity was, and a lot of other information here as well that you can drill down to. And so I'm not personally an Office 365 SME or professional or anything like that. Just kind of play around with it from time to time. But as you can see here, there's a lot of different information here that you can gather, what's going on, what changes are being made, and things like that. So you can see here, this was a success audit event, result status success, where I attempted to make a few changes on my subscription, and we can see some of those details there. All right, so let's go back one page. And back on the screen, as I mentioned, there's we can see those same things. So those are we see there's 4 operations that occurred, and they're all occurred on Azure Active Directory, and they're all by that single user. So we see kind of proceeding breaking down into various different categories. So what I'm going to do now, I'm going to go and attempt to do some changes in SharePoint, and hopefully those will show up here. So let's go and do a few things and changes in SharePoint, and we'll observe as those activities start showing in. Alright, so I've gone and done various different activities on SharePoint. I created sites, I deleted, well, actually, I think I deleted some folders. I created communication sites. I've added some files. I uploaded some files. So I just did various different activities, and wanted to observe kind of some of the things that are caught by the Office 365 analytics capability. So roughly it's been probably maybe about 5 to 10 minutes after the activities occurred. I'm seeing this data actually flow back up into this portal. So your mileage may vary. It may be quicker, it may be a little bit slower. It just kind of depends on kind of what's going on within the environment. But that was my experience in this little small my lab environment here where I'm trying various different things out. So we can see here there's been 18 SharePoint activities. See some pages been viewed, some files been accessed, some admins been added and or removed, site collections been created, folder deleted, etc., etc. So captured a lot of various different things. So let's go ahead and just take a look at the page view and see what details it captured there. And you can see it actually, each one of those links, it actually, again, all this is backed by log analytics, and then it's generating this query. So I can see this was done via a different admin account than the global admin monitor that I'm using. Seeing the client IP, seeing the source, where that occurred, seeing additional details about the organization ID, a little bit more cryptic things as far as exactly which object within the SharePoint site was modified or created. Seeing some user agent information as far as where it came from, that change, and things like that. Yeah, so you can go down. There's a little bit more additional things that were done, various different activities that were created. So here, there's a create group activity that occurred. Go down here. This was a I'm not sure what this is. What's this? But the record type was page view. So I guess as I was doing various different things within the description, I ended up viewing this create group.aspx page. So let's go ahead and go back. And again, you can customize those queries. So if there are specific things that you're looking for that matches any of these various different activities, you can kind of make your own customized query to be more specific on what you want to see. So here we see a file was uploaded. So if I go to that activity, I can see, again, what the operation was, where the Office workload was on SharePoint. I can see the user ID that did it. In this case, it was I was using an admin account. Then I can see, like this is maybe a, and I can kind of see what site that a file of some type was uploaded. Here I don't actually see the name of the file that was uploaded, but I do see that some type of activity occurred. See this randomly, I think this may be a randomly generated page of some type that was generated when I was uploading the file. So yeah, look like I don't see the detail of what file I uploaded. So maybe that's obfuscated somewhere in this data here, but I don't, obviously I don't see it like at a glance. It looks like. So let's go ahead, go back and dig into some more details that's here. So if we click on see all, we can see all of the various different activities grouped by what that activity was. So we see file checked in. Let's go take a look at that. If there's some details on what file that was. SharePoint file operation. We can see the time, date stamp, who did it, what IP address they were coming from when they did it. User type, regular user, some more like cryptic details and identifiers in here. You can see a breaking news, so I do vaguely remember doing that, making like a breaking news page, so that maybe that was the upload activity from that. And then over here on the left, like you can filter down to, so say if there's multiple different clients from various different IP addresses connecting in, you could go and filter by that. And then you can also filter by the type of operation that was occurring. So yeah, this list here will change based on what activities this has detected. And then also the workloads activities will change, or get filtered by specific usernames. And anything about here, as you click on these various different options, it'll update the query. So once you click apply, see the query over here on the right hand is updated. So to give you an idea of the syntax, where you can, as I mentioned, you can make your own custom queries to better filter down to exactly what you're looking for. And then once you have that query in place that you're interested in using, you can come over here and hit alert here, and you can make that query be an alert where you'll get an email when certain criteria for that query are met. So like you have it check every X amount of minutes, or if there's more than X number of um, results from that query, then you can have it generate an alert based on that. So here you'll give it a name, give it a description. You can set the severity, critical, warning, or informational. And then here's your query that we got from the previous screen. You can set the time window. So you can say, as I mentioned, you can say, hey, go check this every 15 minutes. And then if the number of alerts or the number of results from that is greater than a certain number, so say maybe you want this query to be 0, and if it's greater than 0, maybe you want to know about it. So you can put that number in. There's some other criteria to do greater than, less than. In the case of, say, this is a numeric value of some type that was returning, you can do metric measurements for that and say, hey, if this value goes greater than this more than 5 times in an hour, maybe you want to be notified of that. So you can configure all of that here in the schedule and generate alerts based on section. And then up here on the right hand side, you have some actions where you can, as I mentioned, you can email that to you. You can put in who you want that email to go to. And then also put in a subject line. And then also other things you can do is, as I mentioned, there's capabilities for webhooks, which is where, say, if you have some application where you can send, whenever this condition happens, you want to hit some URL and maybe you feed that URL some data, and then that URL will go and do something, maybe create a ticket somewhere in your own ticketing system, or maybe kick off it could be a runbook. Say if you're using something like on-premise orchestrator or some other service, you can have it do that, or something like Slack, or you're sending a message to that. Other thing you can do is that you can launch a runbook. So if you're using Azure Automation and you have that hooked into your OMS account, you can have that go and kick off a particular runbook that you've created. So you can feed over some data from the query and then execute on that runbook. It can be, so it can run in Azure, or it can run on a hybrid worker. And a hybrid worker, that would be a system that you have on premise that have the SCOM or Microsoft Monitoring Agent for OMS installed on the system, and it's been configured to be a hybrid worker. So it will receive those instructions down and do the appropriate action. And then finally, if you're using the integrated ITSM solution, if you have that enabled, you can actually send that over to the ITSM system that you have integrated with OMS. So I believe there's 3 or 4 different systems that support it right now. I know Microsoft Service Manager, ServiceNow, and I think there's 2 other ones that are supported. So for this workspace, I'm getting a message saying it's not installed, but it's a couple clicks operation from the solution gallery to get that going. So that's some of the capabilities you have there. So let's go ahead and jump back a few screens here. Let's go back to our, let's go back to the dashboard. All right, so as you see here, so it's Office 365. Again, this is started building out, so it's just changing and adjusting as based on things that have occurred. So as we already saw, we kind of dug into some of those SharePoint activities that it detected has happened and changes, and then we still have the original 4 Azure Active Directory user activities that it detected. And like this donut graph will change. Let's say if there's things that popped up in Exchange, for example, you'll get another color, another category that will say Exchange, and then you have a number underneath, and then this donut will adjust accordingly. So let's go ahead and click on this one more time. So yeah, so that's kind of gives you a good idea of kind of the types of data that will be gathered through this. And as I said, this may change over time, what kind of activities you will see. And as I mentioned, since it's all backlog analytics, once you have that data here in your workspace, you can do a lot of different things with it, such as, like I mentioned, creating alerts, sending ticketing over onto your own ticketing, or service management or incident management system, or like triggering some other activity somewhere else based on things that are here, or just simply just send an email just so someone is aware of a particular change of some type has occurred. So say if someone is deleting something on a particularly important SharePoint site, you may want to know about that, and understand like why are they deleting that, and who did it as well. So that's a good auditing point to know what user account is actually performing those operations. So, um, so hopefully that's been useful. If you have any questions, feel free to comment down at the bottom, and I'll reply as soon as I can. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.